I've heard him speak at Arbonne and at one of the Albion chapters, and it was so uplifting and interesting. And the whole Yes Network has been a real benefit to me.
It's fantastic. It's fast-paced, it's energetic, there's great information, and it's fun to be a part of.
He was terrific, so energetic.
It was just amazing. He just brings a lot of life to the presentation.
Everything that was brought to the presentation was of value. It's truthful. Everything that we're getting out of it is exactly what we said we would get out of it.
I'd like to have that enthusiasm on all my sales calls.
He speaks faster than anybody that I know, and I thought I spoke fast, and you understand everything that he's saying. He's really quite amazing, and his Yes Network is awesome.
Every single year I've done seminars with Michael Jeffries and the Yes Network, and these are some of the most wonderful, most professional, best organized people I've ever spoken to. And they bring you the very, very best in what we call edutainment, which is really high quality ideas that you can use to increase your business and sales in an entertaining, fast moving, enjoyable way.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Jeffries, and I'll begin by telling you a little bit about my background. Actually, business has always been in my blood. At the age of 6, I started my first venture selling garden seeds and greeting cards door to door. At the age of 10, my interest in business was further sparked literally when I operated a small business out of my school locker selling firecrackers to other 5th graders. Business was booming. At 11, I began singing professionally. I wound up doing dozens of national television and radio commercials, among them Pepsi, Fritos, Cheerios, Meow Mix, a bunch of others. Made quite a bit of money as a kid doing that, which enabled me to pay for private high school, my university education, and after I graduated, I started a business back in the late 1980s. It has become very successful, and that's one of the things I'm here to talk to you about this afternoon. Now, before I launch into my presentation, may I have your permission to speak rather quickly, to keep the pace going at a good clip? Is that okay? Great, and the reason I do that is this. Do you know that most people speak at about 200 words a minute? That's the average rate of speech. However, every one of us have the ability to easily listen at about 400 words a minute. Now, if I'm up here speaking at 200 words a minute, but you're listening at 400 words a minute, what starts to happen? You snore, you daydream, you get bored. My job is to keep your attention the whole time, and if I could fill up the entire 400 words a minute, your brain won't have anywhere else to go. The other good thing is this. Listen, I can cover about twice as much information in half the amount of time, which is good time management. And heck, even if you only catch half of what I say, we're still even, right? Great. You'll get used to me. Now, the reason I'm here, I've got some terrific ideas you can start using immediately to help increase your sales, increase your productivity. In fact, you'll be getting ideas throughout my entire presentation. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, how would you rate the importance of building trust and rapport with your prospects the first time you meet them? 10, critically important. So with that in mind, what do you do in the first 5, 10, 15 minutes? When you first meet a brand new prospect, what do you do to try and build that level of trust and rapport with that person? Give me some ideas. Get to know them. Ask them questions. That's a great way to build rapport, is asking questions. What goes along with asking questions a lot of people forget to do? Listen. You've got to be a great listener. Someone else mentioned a good smile. That's a nice way. A good handshake when you meet them. What else when you first meet somebody? Good eye contact. Maybe looking for something in common with them. They're similar. They go to the same. Their kids go to the same school as yours, or they're fans of the same sports club, or whatever. Something in common. And I'm sure there's a lot of other natural things that we all do to build trust and rapport when we meet new people. So keep doing what you've been doing. It's obviously brought you a certain level of success so far. However, I've got some additional tools that you can add to your toolbox that I guarantee will help every one of you to build trust and rapport a whole lot more quickly than ever before. Now, have any of you here ever heard of neuro-linguistic programming? That people who are already in long-term deep state of rapport, they tended to take on similar physical body language characteristics as one another. They tended to take on similar communication patterns as one another. In essence, they sort of became like mirror images of one another over the long term once they fell into this deep state of rapport. Now, researchers further theorized. They said, well, if this is what happens naturally over the long term, what if we could very subtly duplicate the physical body language characteristics of another person when we first meet them? And what if we could very subtly duplicate the communication patterns of another person when we first meet them? And they found that by doing it the right way, you could dramatically increase the speed and the efficiency at which you're able to build trust and rapport. And that is exactly what I'll show you how to do here this morning. Sound good? Great. Before we get going further, though, I'd like you to all do a quick little experiment with me, if you would. Would everybody please quickly make a circle like that with your hand? We got that? Take that circle, place it on your chin. How many have not found the chin yet? That would be right here. The chin is here. This is the chin. Now, 90% of you are sitting there like this. What did I clearly say? Chin. So you heard what I said, but what did your brain do? Your brain responded to what it saw. What I've just proven to you is that body language speaks louder than words. Agreed? It's been proven over and over again. They've actually done numerous studies on this. There was a study done at Yale University a number of years ago. They actually took a look at communication. They broke it down into its 3 components to see how powerful each of them were. By the way, the 3 components of communication are body language, tonality, that's the way you say something. You know, how loud or how soft or how fast or how slow or where you put the inflection in the words, that's all tonality. And then, of course, you have the actual words that we use. So you've got body language, tonality, and words equaling a total of 100%. Based on the study at Yale, what percentage do you think that the physical body language accounted for? 50% is a good guess. It was even higher than that. It was 55%. More than half just for the body language. Wow. So let's see, that leaves what, 45% left. What do you think the tonality accounted for out of the remaining 45? 20. A lot of people say 20 or 30. It was even higher than that. It was actually 38%. People say, whoa, 38% just for tonality. If you have any doubts about it, we're going to prove it right now. In fact, I'm going to ask you to get involved again, so keep those vocal cords going. Here's what we're going to do. We can do this a few different ways. What we're going to do is we're going to take a word, and as a group, we're going to say the word a couple different times. Well, let's actually say it 4 or 5 times, just to show you how different the same word can mean by the way that we say it. So we can do this a few ways. Let's take the word O. Now, the word O, I mean, it's just a letter in the alphabet until you put inflection into it. So as a group right now, let's all say the word O together to mean I understand. Oh. Now say the word O to mean I really don't understand. Oh. Now say the word O to mean disgust. Oh. How about disappointment? Oh. Excitement. Oh. Wait, I heard pleasure. I heard pleasure in there. But you get the idea. Just by the way we say just by the way we say the word completely changes the meaning. So, if you've got 55% for body language, you got 38% for the way that we say something, what does that leave left for the actual words that we use, mathematicians? Not much. 7%. And of those 3 areas, which do most of us usually focus on when we're trying to build trust and rapport? The words, what we're about to say. So in essence, we are ignoring 93% of our potential to build trust and rapport. And all I'm suggesting, let's also learn how to tap into those other 2 areas. And that's exactly what I'll show you how to do right now. So remember, researchers proved that people who are already in rapport with one another tended to take on similar physical body language characteristics. We've got to start doing that with our prospects when we first meet them. So you take any scenario where you've never met the prospect, they've never met you, it's your first encounter with each other, and they think you're going to try and sell them something. Now, what kind of body language do people like that often snap into? All right, the old 4 of you did that at once. Yeah, the old crossed arms. Now, what is this telling you? Back off, I don't believe you, I don't trust you, I'm not buying, I'm not signing, I've got my wallop and a whole lot of other stuff, right? No, what I suggest you do is, if you want to build more rapport, very casually as you start to ask them questions, look for things in common, be a good listener, a nice smile, all the other stuff we talked about, just real casually, just kind of slip into the same position as them, just casually cross your arms just like them, and subconsciously they will start to feel at greater ease with you. Why? Because you have something in common. We talked about finding things in common. Now you're creating something in common, and something very powerful at that. What was body language worth again in that study? 55%. So you're creating something very powerful in common. Now, obviously, you don't want to keep the person like this. Nobody's going to be buying any of your products or services in this defensive body language position. So what you want to do a couple minutes later into the conversation with that person, just real casually as you're continuing with your questions and all that other stuff, just kind of real casually, just kind of uncross your arms and keep going with your presentation. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, they'll uncross their arms right after you do. It's amazing how well this works. Now, once in a while, they don't. And if they don't, what I suggest you do is continue on for another minute and a half or so, and then kind of real casually kind of slip back into it again. And then another minute or 2 after that, you go for the second attempt. By then, they almost always uncross their arms. Now, something very interesting will happen quite often. Let's say the person had their arms crossed. So you very casually, you're getting to know them. You're just real casually, you cross your arms to build that rapport. Just by you doing this in many cases will make the other person feel so comfortable that they will uncross their arms first. And let's say, for example, now let's say that they put their hands on their waist. Well, if their hands are on their waist, you don't want to stay like this. You want to, once again, get into the position that they're in, but you got to be subtle about how you do it. You can't all of a sudden go like that. Expect that to look at you like you're some kind of nutcase and find somebody else to do business, right? So stay like this. Don't be in such a big hurry to shift positions. Continue on for another 10, 20, 30 seconds. Maybe use your hands as we have to do to explain something. You drop them to the side, and another 15, 20 seconds later, as you're continuing on, you just real casually, you slip into that position, and here you are, once again, mirroring their body language, but you very subtly transition into it. If you are not consciously paying attention to the way your prospect is sitting across from you and very subtly mirroring that forward-backward motion, I promise you are making people feel less comfortable than you could. You're potentially losing business every day. Other things to pay attention to, if they got their hands in their pockets, put your hands in your pockets if you got pockets of what you're ready. wearing. Some people, they got their head tilted to the side. Tilt your head a little bit to the side. The more ways you can subtly be like that other person, the more they subconsciously like you, trust you, respect you, and want to do business with you. People who are like each other tend to like each other. Does that make sense? Right? Now, you got to draw the line somewhere. If they have a nervous twitch or scratch themselves in the straight spot, you don't want to mirror those things. But you do want to mirror as many things as possible, and it really does help make a very big difference. So that is the body language component. Are there any questions on what we covered so far? All right, moving right along. Next component was tonality. What was tonality worth again? 38%. Now, have you ever noticed that people that go speaking a little fast, they go 100 miles an hour? You got to do something like that. You got to pick up the pace of your speed. If you go slow to be a pace so fast, you're going to lose them. I know this really well. I was born and raised in New York City about 2 to 3 times a year. My aunt goes to come ahead and visit me. Always about to buy something. We can be a car piece or bar. It doesn't matter. Speed it up if you're doing something that's going faster. All things held equal, they'll choose you over the competition. Make sense? Right. Exaggeration, but you get the idea. Speed it up with these people if you want to have them choose you. What was the final component of communication? Words. What were they worth again? It's very important, though. Very much worth paying attention to. Here are some really good ideas that you can use to build more trust and rapport using the words. Now, have you ever noticed everybody's got like a big favorite fancy word they like to use? Everyone's got like their $10 word they keep in their back pocket. I was at a real estate company last week. One of the women there, she says to me, Michael, we have a plethora of homes available in the marketplace. She liked the word plethora. I was at AAA Birmingham about 2 months ago, and the manager, before my presentation, she says to me, Michael, it would behoove you to do this, it would behoove you to do that. She was a behoover. Anyway, here's the point. If you hear someone use a bigger or an unusual word like that, what you want to do a little bit later in the conversation with that person, you use the same big word that they used, and they think to themselves, hey, you're just as smart as I am using that same big word. You're all right. But hold on. Make sure you know what the word means. Excuse me, I'm going to go use the plethora. I'll be right back. No. But if you know what it means, it's a great way to build rapport. Other thing is this, pay attention to people's choice of words. In the English language, we have so many different words that mean the exact same thing. Now, on the flip side of the coin, a lot of us, we will use negative words, powerless words. They rob us of our credibility. Half the time, we're not really aware that we're using them. I'll give you a couple of examples right now that I'm sure many of us here are guilty of. Have you ever said throughout the course of your business day, I'll have to check and see if we still offer that type of product. I'm going to have to find out when she's going to be back and have her call you as soon as I see her. I'll have to see if we're going to have that meeting this Friday. I'll have to check on that for you. I'll have to see if we can get that in stock by next week. You ever say I'll have to something? It's very common. I hear it all the time. Now, think about it for a minute. When you say to somebody, I'll have to whatever, what is the undertone to I'll have to? It's an inconvenience. In other words, what? I'll have to, but I don't want to. When we were kids, what did we say? I have to clean my room, but I don't want to. I have to do the dishes, but I don't want to. Do I have to, Mom? You only have to do stuff you don't want to do. So you say to a prospect, listen, I'm going to have to see if we can get that order over there by Friday, but I don't want to. Is that what you want I'm hearing? If not, don't ever let that come out of your mouth again in that context. Instead, replace it with better than I will. Better than I'm going to. Better than I want to. Better than I'll do it. Who said that? Yeah, there he is. Hey, give him a gold star. He said, I'll be glad to. But think about that. When you say, I'll be glad to, think about what you're saying to the customer. Whatever I'm about to do, I am glad to do it for you. Not I'll have to, but I don't want to. I'm glad to. Or some other variations of that might be more comfortable for you. Hey, I'll be happy to check on that for you. I'd like to get that over there by this Friday. I'd love to look into that. I'd love to. I'd like to. I'll be glad to. I'll be happy to. But not I'll have to. You see the difference? Makes a huge difference in the way the customer or the prospect feels. Now, the next idea, to be completely...
Great information.
It's moving, it's touching.
I like the way he had stories to kind of tie it all together.
It was fantastic.
She was extremely well prepared. It was very practical.
Very pleasant to listen to.
It was excellent.
I got a lot out of today's session.
He has charisma, a way with words.
Definitely worth listening to.
He's an excellent speaker.
Has a lot of information. He's obviously done his homework.
Thought the program was outstanding.
I absolutely love it. It jives with a lot of things that I've been studying and reading about lately.
He definitely grabs your interest and keeps it right from the get-go.
Very energetic, very positive.
Thought it was unbelievable. I mean, everybody from my office enjoyed it.
Highly intelligent, very entertaining.
That's good. He's funny. He's motivational.
Very articulate, very descriptive.
I thought it was absolutely terrific.
It's very good. Her delivery is exceptional.
He knows exactly what he's talking about, so I like that.
Really, really worthwhile.
I thought it was great.